This is going to be my week 6 reaction. And first, I want to talk about Her Pen is a Machete, and specifically where that title even kind of comes from, because I think I found it really interesting in the video the way they talked about how her writing style was sort of made to be directly going against the sort of expectations of language that white men hold up, and in that way she was sort of using her pen as a machete to slice through these expectations. And I wanted to talk about that in relationship to actually her book, For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough, and how you can see throughout that book and even in the title her using this sort of writing style where she writes things sort of more as they sound in certain words than as they're technically supposed to be spelled, like spelling was with a Z and enough in the title with ENUF. And I sort of wanted to talk about how her doing that was sort of revolutionary in itself, because it's fighting against this sort of expectation and this sort of belief that AAVE, African American Vernacular English, is sort of the incorrect way of speaking. And so she's sort of using her art to prop up these quote unquote incorrect ways of speaking as being acceptable and being a actual method of making an artistic and political statement. And then from the movie Black Theater, The Making of a Movement, I wanted to first talk about this quote, which says, "You can make art by blacks, but it has to be for the observing, listening audience at large." And I think that this was a really interesting quote because it sort of says that even when art is being made by black people, it still has to be made so white people can enjoy it. And there's sort of a modern connection that I wanted to make to it in the musician No Name. She kind of recently came out and said that she wasn't going to be making music anymore because she was tired of performing her music for predominantly white audiences. And I think that sort of that connects to this idea that she was expected to, in her performances, make it palatable for a white audience, even though she was creating this music with the intention of it being performed and interpreted by a black audience. And I sort of see the way that dissonance, that created like dissonance for her and made her not want to perform anymore. But also in the same film, there was another quote that says, "Theater is so racist in many ways that it's difficult for them to deal with us as people. They can't get past that." And I think that this sort of shows that even when these black artists are making these films that are intended to be enjoyed by a white audience, they're still seen as black films black theater, because black people are involved in the creating and acting out of these pieces. And I think I can connect that to Jordan Peele's filmography, actually, because he with his most recent film Us, he made this movie that had a message. It had more of a message about class than anything, but people, when it was coming out, were looking for this message about race. They had this expectation that it was about race because it was being made by Jordan Peele and it had an pretty much all black cast. And and Jordan Peele pretty much came out and said, "I don't want to always be making these movies about being black. I just want to make movies that have black casts." And I think that sort of these two expectations, they come together to create this sort of scenario where at the same time you're expected to depoliticize your art, but then it's also seen as inherently political just because of who's involved in the creation of it. And I think that creates a lot of dissonance for Black artists and makes it very difficult at times to actually create the art that they want to, and either make the statement that they want to make or not make any kind of statement and just make an enjoyable piece of art. But that is all I had to say for this week. So, bye.